He waited for the bus. It never arrived, so he walked home. These verbs or doing words are all talking about things that happened in the past, and they all have ed endings, but each one is pronounced differently. Waited, arrived, walked. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to know which is the correct way to pronounce each of the ed endings. You'll also get lots of practice, and at the end get tips so that those endings sound really natural when you say them. Hi, I'm Steve. Let's do this. We're going to start with this simple rule. You never pronounce ed at the end of a verb as ed, not ever. It's never open ed. It's never smoke ed. It's never fix ed. So don't ever say ed for this type of ending. So now you know what not to say, let's learn what we should say. And it's one of these. It's either t, d, or id. Say them for me. T, d, id. Now to decide which of these to use, you have to look at the verb without the ed ending. For example, let's use this word. We take off the ed ending and we're left with the simple verb kiss. Now it's really important for this part that we trust our ears and not our eyes, because we have to decide if the sound at the end of the verb, in this case s, is made just by using our breath, which we call a voiceless sound, or it's made by sending our breath from our chest into our voice box, which lives here in our throat, and we call that a voiced sound. So back to our example, kiss, the ending is the s sound, and you make that totally with your breath. S. You try. Kiss. So s is a voiceless sound. Now check out this verb, buzz. It's the sound that a bee makes. Now at the end of the word we have z. And to make that sound, our mouth shape is the same as last time for the s sound, but this time we send the air from our chest into our voice box. So it becomes a voiced sound. Z. You try. Buzz. If you take two fingers and hold them to the sides of your throat when you say it, you should be able to feel your voice box vibrating. So it's buzz. You try. Buzz. Now keeping your fingers there, say kiss. Kiss. Can you feel the difference? No vibration for kiss because it's voiceless. But buzz, you feel the vibration, it's voiced. If we now look at the three options that we have for pronouncing ed endings correctly, that's t, d, and id, you can see the first option, t, is also a voiceless sound. Say it, t. It's just made with your breath. You can put your fingers on your throat, t, no vibration. This is a voiceless sound. So we use this voiceless ending t when the verb ends in a voiceless sound. In other words, they match. So this word is pronounced kissed. Hear the t at the end? Remember, never ed, it's never kiss ed, it's just kissed. You try. And in a sentence, she kissed him. You should feel that that's really easy to say, that it sounds really natural. She kissed him. You try. Let's try another verb with a voiceless sound at the end, work. That k sound just made with the breath, work. So to pronounce this correctly, you need to match that voiceless sound, k, with our voiceless option, t. So this word, which is work in the past, becomes worked. Worked. You try. Worked. And in a sentence, he worked hard. Again, notice how easy that is to pronounce. He worked hard. Next, let's try verbs that end in a voiced sound, like play. The y sound at the end of play is made by sending the air from your chest into your voice box. One more time, if you go y, you can feel your voice box starting to vibrate. It's a voiced sound. Play. If we now look at our three options again for how to say ed endings correctly, we'll see we have a d up there, which is a voiced sound. D. So this is the one we need to match to verbs ending in a voiced sound. So this word is pronounced played. You try. Played. In a sentence, he played football. You try. Let's try another. This time, wave. Here you can see this word actually ends in an E. That E is silent. So the sound, remember, trust your ears, not your eyes. The sound at the end of this verb is V. And V is a voiced sound. That means the air goes through your voice box in your throat. V. Wave. So to say this word correctly, we use our voiced option, D. So this word is pronounced waved. Waved. In a sentence, the boy waved to his friend. The boy waved to his friend. You try. Of course, during an English conversation, you can't stop halfway through and say, just wait while I decide, is this voiced? Is it voiceless? Is it t? Is it d? You just have to know, like a native English speaker does. The tip for doing this is just to relax. Let your brain automatically decide which is the right ending to use. After a voiceless ending on a verb, the t sound is simply easier to say. And after a voiced ending, the d is simply easier to say. So your brain will naturally find the right ending for you if you relax and let it. Let me prove it to you with this word. First, take the ed ending off. And at the end of the verb now is shh. And that is just your breath making that sound. It's voiceless. Shh. So we follow our rules and we use our voiceless ending, the t sound. So this word becomes fished. You try. Fished. Now that's easy to say. But if we try using the voiced ending, d, it becomes fished. You try. Fished. Can you feel how awkward and horrible that sounds? Go back to fished, which is the correct way of pronouncing it, and it just feels easier. It flows. Fished. Let's try them the other way round. We'll use this word. Take off the ed ending and we end up with call. At the end of that is ooh. Ooh is voiced. You can feel it vibrating. Ooh. So if we follow our rules, we use our voiced ending, the d sound. We put that on the end and this word becomes called. Called. You try. Called. Now let's try saying it with the incorrect ending, the voiceless t, and it becomes called, called. Again, can you feel how awkward that sounds when you say it? Called. So if we say it correctly again, and we relax, called. It just comes out easier. Next, for verbs that end in the t sound, when we remove the ed ending, t is a voiceless sound. So we should, if we follow our rules, use the t ending. But then it becomes hunts, which is difficult to say, and it's not very clear. Hunts. So we use our last option, which is id. Remember, not ed. We never say ed. It's id. So this word becomes hunt id. Hunted. You try. Hunted. And in a sentence, the tiger hunted his food. And we use the same idea for verbs that end in the voiced d sound when we remove the ed ending, like pretend. If we followed our rule, we would use the voiced d to take the ed place. But then it would become pretended. Pretended. You can hear how horrible that sounds. So we use id again, and this word becomes pretended. 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 You try. Pretended. And in a sentence, they pretended they were rich. Now let's practice some sentences using all of these options. And then I'll give you a tip on how to make them sound far more natural. Repeat after me and remember to relax. Let your brain decide what's the easiest, and the easiest will almost always be the correct way to pronounce them. The player kicked the ball. They closed the shop. We planted a tree. I subscribed to this channel. I clicked the like. Now this next tip is a little advanced, but it will really help you sound more natural when you have an English conversation. And it's to do with how native English speakers join words together. If you're saying an English sentence and you're using a verb with an ed ending, and the very next word after it starts with a vowel sound, which is simply the sound one of these letters makes, plus the schwa sound, which is that little sound that's so common in English, and you can learn all about that in this lesson on the channel, then you can join them together. And this is how you do it. Let's take this word. If we remove the ed ending, then we're left with p, which is a voiceless sound. So we're going to use our voiceless t ending. So it's pronounced jumped. And if it's followed by a word that starts with a vowel, for example, on, we move that t sound from the end of jumped to the front of on. So it becomes jump-ton. Jump-ton. Say it more naturally, jumped-on. You try it. Jumped-on. Let's try it in a sentence. He jumped on his bike. Hopefully you can hear how much faster and natural that sounds than he jumped on his bike. He jumped on his bike. One more time, you try. He jumped on his bike. Now this verb is pronounced with the voiced D sound, so it's opened. If in a sentence like this, it's followed by the word up that begins with a vowel sound, we move that D sound from the end of opened to the front of up, so it becomes opened up, opened up. A little bit faster, opened up. You try, opened up. And now the whole sentence, she opened up the shop. The verb admitted is pronounced with the id ending. And in this sentence, it's followed by the word it. And it starts with a vowel sound, I. So we're going to move the d ending from the end of admitted to the front of it. So it becomes admitted it. Admitted it. You try. Admitted it. In the sentence, he admitted it. Of course, now you need to build your confidence by practicing. And if you click this link, you can take part in real English conversations. I'll see you next time.